Why hello there, fellow HVAC techs, Rodamon here. Thank you for tuning in to Stationeers Brutal Vulcan. Episode 21. Filtering base coolant and color coding plumbing. So steel ingots are at 627. It just became hotter than 627, so time to make it. I think it only needs to be like 1 MPa. Yeah. Steel, done. 400 grams. Alright, we're gonna want some insulated pipes. So 1, 2, 3 pipes plus a passive vent, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 flat walls. So 5 flat walls, 5 sheets for the flat walls, and 3 pipes and a passive vent. And then like every, you know, all the heat exchangers, AC units, so on and so forth. There's a lot to be added as well, but that's the start. So here's a passive vent that will work. Do I have steel sheets? I got 1. Water coolant's down to 34 Celsius. Just checking if we want to make another batch of water, because we're just about out of water. So speaking of a batch of water, how much oxygen do we have? 174 mole? Yeah, let's make a little batch. $18 moles left. Okay, cool. And then we had 2 and a third liters left to even flush into the base, which I just did. So, all right, we're not 0 water. Nice. All right, let's put the potatoes away because they rot a lot faster in my inventory. Not that I'm worried because we have so many potato plants that are doing just fine, plus all the seeds, etc. But might as well put it away out of abundance of caution. Okay, so I'm setting up the coolant intake, and then I'll set up the walls and add the space. After adding the space, I'm going to want a bunch of atmospheric units, or coolers rather. So I'll set those up soon. Let's do this part first. It's active vent, pipes. Done. I could get a batch writer to turn on the active vent when we turn on this active vent. That probably would make the most sense, so it becomes automated. And then once we have enough like coolant in the system, we can just remove the batch writer. So I'll probably do that as well, because that just makes my life easier, and things that make my life easier are worth doing, especially when they're that cheap. Which means we could just keep the filter on at all times. Because there's no input right now, so it's not filtering anything, because until the active vent turns on, it doesn't matter. So we'll just keep this on and labeler. So this is base CO2 coolant filtration and base CO2 coolant activant. So now when I have a batch writer, I can write to it because I know what it is. I will say, base is a lot more open with the lockers moved. Small change, big impact. Best kind. If I want the batch writer, we need a logic I/O. And then I need to figure out which one is it. Oh, this is unlabeled. Ooh, that's not good. Coolant intake. Coolant intake logic writer is probably what we're doing. But I'm going to have to do some sleuthing because apparently I didn't label this one. So this is set to... This is the outflow logic compare. This is the outflow writer. Coolant outflow logic writer. Okay, so the intake to this should be the same as the intake to this. So that's the coolant intake math logic compare. And the output should be the base CO2 coolant activant. And then the variable is whether it is on or not. And hypothetically, that's all I need to do. I should test it at night, but hypothetically, I'm done. Having walled up the new section, I can remove the frames. And I'm going to put a wall in, 2 walls in here to, like, have it not look like it's floating, because obviously that's weird. Plus mining out all the rubble as well. So let's make 2 flat walls. Okay, this is going to be the coolant area. The first thing I probably want to cool is the oxygen, I suspect, because like that will affect my suit's efficiency. Am I really down to 5 iron? Ooh, God. So then the other thing, another thing I'm going to want is at least one more atmospheric kit. Which needs more iron. So that I can cool down the gases from here and dump the excess heat into the waistline here. And for that, I need iron. So I'm low on silicon and iron. My tank should be filling up now. Yep, there it is. So we're getting moles of carbon dioxide put into the tank to use as base coolant. So this logic writer works correctly. Sweet. Hey, Sammy, thank you for the resub. So now I'm heading out to get iron and silicon, if I can find it. And both can be just like arc furnace or furnace. I don't really care. With this new drill, it's a lot less labor and time intensive. There's actually a real risk of me like mining all the way down to magma and harming myself with this thing, because it goes fast. Where on the priority list is cooling the CO2 for the greenhouse? I'm working on that actively. That's part of this base coolant heat exchanger. So, a reminder, previously, we were treating the base's atmosphere as the heat exchanger, which is inefficient and like a bad stopgap measure. And we're upgrading it to be far more controlled, so that it's not like so that we don't like cook ourselves regularly and mess up the temperature of our carbon dioxide, etc., etc. So yeah, I figured maybe what I'll do is I'll like process the gold in order to produce heat, because I'm impatient and don't want to wait for like midday. But I want a little bit more iron. 75 iron's not a lot. And I just had an ash storm recently, so I don't think another one's going to hit me while I'm out and mining. Can I use the magma for something? Nope. That was asked not too long ago, but really, no. There's not good uses for the magma as far as I know. Unless you, like, want to stare at it. Like, I guess it's a light source technically, but, like, kind of a dangerous one if you ask me. But I'm keeping the two CO2s separate. The CO2 I'm grabbing now is not CO2 I'm using for the farm. They're different completely. There's combustion. It's hot enough for the copper. It's hot enough for the silicon, maybe. But maybe not if the silicon outgasses. Yeah, silicon outgassed and it's not hot enough. That's fine. I'll do it midday tomorrow. So this atmospherics that I'm making now will be a cooler. At least one cooler for this here. The 3 kilomoles of CO2. But I'll probably have multiple coolers dumping to the wasteline. Is jumping the way, intended way to access the arc furnace? I mean, you could have chutes or intakes. So there's a way to do it. There's whole powered chute system, which you can stick things into the chute and then hit a handle or whatever. I just haven't bothered because jumping is cheaper. At some point, I can hook up chute systems if you want. The other thing I wanted to do is to make the heat exchange. So I'm going to make small ones. I'm going to make small ones because I like them better. There is a larger one. Let me pause the game. The larger ones, the like gas-to-gas large ones, are very, 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 very big. And they're kind of finicky about how to position them, which is why I didn't want to use them. They're far more effective than the smaller ones, but if you have the smaller, I'll show you why I want the smaller ones, because they can stack. And they kind of look like a heat sink when they stack. It's a nice effect. I'm also going to need to hydrate soon. So what I'm planning on doing is to have the gas-to-gas heat exchangers... Oops, maybe not there. But be stacked. And have like 4 floor to ceiling. Because the larger ones are like 10 times that size. They really are bulky. And I don't need... I'm not exchanging that level of material, of gas. Even this, I would argue, is probably overkill. Maybe I'll do 3. Because they can float. And what I'll do is I'll have 3 for carbon dioxide, 3 for oxygen, 3 for volatiles, and 3 for water. No, I don't even need to do water. 3 for volatiles, 3 for oxygen, 3 for carbon dioxide. Because I don't ever keep steam. I'm going to print out 1 more just so I can space out the area. There. So I need 2 more, but let's hydrate first. Is the base pressurized in such a way that I can walk around without a gas mask? No. And it can't be until I'm done with this project. I can walk around without a... Oh, with just a gas mask? Hypothetically, yeah. Sorry, I reread your question. The reason why I'm not doing that is fumbling around with yet another thing that I have to wear is annoying. So there's not really an advantage of gas masking over suiting, because, like, there isn't much of a disadvantage to suit. Because the hygiene system doesn't have a big penalty. So me being uncomfortable and sad is, like, not a big deal, in other words. Cheers. But once the entire base's atmosphere is not used as a heat sink, and instead I'm setting up a heat exchanger to use as a heat sink, which is the whole point of this project, I'll be able to potentially have the base be set up for breathability. That would be a separate goal, but like one that I could add to the poll. Is silicon a 627? Yeah, it's a 627. So I can't make silicon until a little bit later. I could if I wanted to make the copper right now, but I'm so close to 627, I'll just wait. While we wait, is there any new traders? So new trader shows up. There's an ore trader. I'm only going to interrogate because I might try to sell to them if they want any of my junk. Okay, I've replenished my metals. Let's see what this guy has before we dismiss him. It's got the basic stuff. Unprocessed ore. Nothing like mystery ore, right? What do you want? I could make a mining belt for you. Maybe I'll do that. I got the materials. I'll just wait for this iron to be done, so I'm not leaving it on the ground. And this burnt through 5% of a filter overnight. No problem. That's pretty affordable. So the mining belt to steel and Constantin. My Constantin should be here. And he was ready to pay big. 100 coin is not bad. That's like half a seed. Which is why I would agree to it. Plus, it's steel, which I have an abundance of because it's made a huge batch, and Constantin, which I don't use very often. I fully acknowledge it's annoying to make on this planet. But the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off my old belt so I don't sell them the wrong one. I'm not really sure what priority it takes, but I, out of an abundance of caution, don't want to part with the belt that I have tools in. So... normally what you could do is you can have a vending machine, so it like draws from the vending machine and not your own inventory, which is like way safer. Cool. So now we have a credit card with 280 coin on it. Not bad. And I'm going to buckle down and focus more on the goal at hand, because I have not been making a lot of progress on it. So I want to hook up the air conditioner, at least one, but probably more than one, ASAP, so they can start cooling down that carbon dioxide as I pull it from the atmosphere. So that it can actually be useful for heat exchange, because if it's not colder than the base, which is right now 48 Celsius, it's only going to raise the temperature, not lower the temperature. So it has the exact opposite effect. So we want to bring the temperature of my coolant down, and the best thing I could do is to pressurize it in such a way that it is, you know, because high pressure, the more volume I have of it, the less likely it will be to get shocked when I'm using it. So I want a lot of carbon dioxide and to bring the temperature down so that it can be a big old heat sink. We're going to need insulated pipes for that, but I want to get this thing running as soon as possible and then probably hook up some additional air conditioners. So in order to get that running, we need insulated pipes. And I'm guessing my ferns are ready to go. So I'm going to allow the pipes to... I'm going to want a lot of them, because all the heat sinks eventually need to get plumbed. Burn seed. Burn seed. Oops. Let's see. So I'm going to hold on... I am going to put the ferns in front. I had them in back, but it's going to be easier to monitor them if they're in front. Okay, here we go. We've gone through about a fourth of a liter so far on stream today. Base cooling, will I use liquid CO2 or gas CO2? Gas. Because I'm using a heat exchanger. So the way the heat exchangers work is it equalizes the gases, the temperature of the two inputs. So if I used liquid CO2, it would make my base really unpleasant. Those would become very cold. Do I need space between the heat exchangers or coolers? No. I've laid it out the way I want. 'Tis fine. Okay, this is a waistline here. So I can pull this waistline and hook it up to the waist here. At some point we'll color code it if that gets voted on. There we go. So now this AC has a waistline, and then the input and the output just is going to be from up there. So we'll drop... Actually, let's do it like this. And I'll probably have more than one air conditioner, as I mentioned. But I want to start with one, because the sooner I start air conditioning it, the better. So that we can... we can bring the temperature of the coolant down. But I'm trying to have most of the piping be above the floor level, so that's not something I trip on. I'll just leave that like that. It's fine. Okay. First, oh, I forgot to put my seeds away. The first air conditioner is hooked up, and we really don't want to start heat exchanging until the temperature of that CO2 is like reasonable. Otherwise, it has the inverse effect. You don't get the piping again? I'll explain it. Just give me a moment. Okay. So this here is my waste tank. It's my dump tank where I dump heat. That is the tank that's installed here that is exchanged sort of nightly with the atmosphere. It's just an atmospheric tank. It's a tank of atmospheric gas that we shove our heat into and then dump that heat into the atmosphere. Right? And that's why it's at 38 MPa. This is a CO2 tank. It has atmospheric CO2, but we are skimming atmospheric gas, filtering the CO2, only keeping the CO2, and shoving it into this tank to pressurize this tank. And I'm going to want the pressure to rise up to something like 30, ideally. So it's going to take a while, a long while. But it's going to be only CO2. And this tank is going to be then temperature controlled to about 20 degrees Celsius, ideally, so that I have a giant volume of gas at 20 Celsius, and then we take that giant volume of gas at 20 Celsius and heat exchange it with all the other gas tanks. So then I'm going to heat exchange it with this gas tank. Whoa, I'm out of oxygen. Ox filter is 0. Yeah, that'll explain it. And we're going to heat exchange it so that all of the gases that I filter are brought to a comfortable room temperature, rather than whatever temperature I captured the gas at. So that my oxygen, carbon dioxide, volatiles, they're all room temperature, comfortable room temperature. All right. Yeah, we had a backup of oxygen in the farm. That's why I ran out of oxygen. And then this air conditioner is cooling down my CO2 and dumping the excess heat to the waste line. And that's how all the other ACs work too. All the other ACs, hypothetically, will be like this one. I can get rid of at some point. Because what I can do, once I have this giant tank at room temperature, I can have radiators. I can have radiators that just will do that work for me. And that way my base is far less likely to get temperature shocked. But I think air conditioner might be safer anyway. And dump it to the waste tank, because that way if the coolant tank somehow gets hot, it doesn't heat the base up. So, yeah, that's what's going on. I hope that explains it. So what I want to do now is to I might, even though you didn't vote for this, I might go ahead and start painting. So that you can track everything. Because it's going to be really hard to figure out what the hell is going on if I don't start painting. And it's only going to get worse. So if I want to paint, the other thing is I'm going to be introducing some pollutant into the base, but I'll clean up the pollutant later. So, first things first, oxygen. Oh no, this is carbon dioxide. I'm already doing it wrong. Oxygen. If I had a paint gun, this might be better. This would be better with a paint gun. But whatever. It's just one iron. I don't care. feel like I'm a vandal. Oxygen. Let's see. That's all the oxygen in the base. Put the can away. Do carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide I usually see as like yellow, so I'll just I'll do yellow for CO2. There, you know, and usually it's like green for nitrogen. Everyone has their own color codes. It's sort of arbitrary because all these colors are essentially invisible. And I'll leave mixed gas as orange because it's just going to be easier. Alright, that's all the carbon dioxide we've got, I think. And then volatiles will be red. Oh, yeah. Hit the filter too. I could do steam as like a blue, light blue. Technically, this becomes mixed at this point. This is fuel. So I'm not going to color code that. This will move all my paints here. Let's see. Paint blue for steam. Because, you know, water. Technically, this is my steam. I'm not gonna... Oh, not there. I'm not gonna bother painting the outside of it. No. Because, you know, this whole thing is steam as well. Okay. So that's done. Now it's slightly color-coded so you can see it better. I should paint these yellow for CO2, because technically this is a CO2 loop now, so let's do that. I'm gonna run out of paint. And then I'm gonna, oops. I'm gonna create a, like a color pipe for each type. So I don't have to keep spraying. Okay, done. Checking on the health of the filters. Cool, that's fine. How is my CO2? 81. So it's already gone down like 30 degrees Celsius or so. Nice. Awesome. How is oxygen? We've got 175 moles. Good. Progress. So the next stage of this is going to be hooking up a few more air conditioners before we do anything else, but I don't have the master colors yet, so I'll do the master colors first. Essentially, like, the original pipe in a stack will determine the color of everything added to the stack. So if you have one yellow pipe and you add more pipes to it, they all become yellow pipes. And that way you can paint without paint. Because the atmosphere of our base just became a little toxic to breathe because the spray can outgasses pollutants. Oh, out of water again. Whatever. Make another batch. With the additional ferns that are growing, from 3 to 7, we're making more oxygen, which is good. Am I going to spray paint the tanks? I already did. Technically speaking. And then the other thing is I should spray paint my gas canisters too. So now the oxygen canisters are oxygen colored. My propellant is not propellant color. Well, no, actually, they are. I take that back. Maybe what I'll do is I'll spray my waste tanks like a separate color. I'll spray them orange. That would make the most sense because orange is like mixed gas color. So I'll spray the waste tanks orange as a result. Perfect. Thank you for tuning in to Stationeers Brutal Vulcan, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhodamont.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhodamont.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow Stationeer survivors.